I'm not talking on expense.
Oh, okay.
Correct. Okay, correct.
I'm confused.
Nope, that's okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Because
That's why we're here.
my hair was gonna start growing. That's
Mine
not a
too.
good thing. All right. Thank you.
Also working on Title IX presentation for new staff in service. That is the 23rd. Been a part of most of our staff interviews that we've had lately, and then looking again at data big time into our habitually absent kids and what we can do to fix those things.
Questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, since you want to do this.
Go ahead and see if there's questions. So the high school principal report is in there for your review. Does anyone have any questions about anything that they read in that report?
Any issues? Well, that, or is it just, all good?
What do you mean, any issues? Like what in particular?
Well, based on the report, I can't even tell if there's any issues in here.
You know, it's really all back to school stuff and hiring stuff, and, you know, as you know, we aren't able to find a guidance counselor to hire in that position. We have a lot of turnover in the area of office staff, so we're going through, you know, growing pains with all of that over the summer. But, yeah, and then all the construction on top of that, you know, just.
Do we have that job still posted for, like, continuously posted?
Yeah, guidance and title is still posted. Yep. Those are the last two. So I would say the biggest struggles would be like just finishing up the staff, you know, getting everything ready for the certain school, like managing all of the movement that has to take place at the last minute, you know, with construction. That's the number one thing on everybody's radar right now, getting our buildings ready to go and making sure that we have a secure, safe place for kids on the fifth.
So you're not posting for another sixth grade teacher at all?
I don't know if that is still posted. I think it has been taken down because we have figured out our schedules. You know, guidance and title is a little bit easier to keep those out there posted because it doesn't change up schedules. Where,
But if you posted it just as a sixth grade job without attaching the word math or specific, and then the three people that are hired decide who's gonna teach what, you might get someone to, because I'm speaking from experience, when we moved to that high school, they knocked us down to 2 teachers, and we had 28 kids in a classroom, and it was not good. It was very, and it was a good class, it was a class that just graduated, and they were a good class. And it was still difficult. I know the rooms are a little bigger now, but you're talking 24, 25 kids in a classroom.
yeah, we're not having that many in a classroom. I wish I had that number for you right off the top of your head. I don't know if you can find that for me. But I believe our numbers are more around that 20.
I don't have access to those.
I'm seeing if I can find the rotations, because Greg and I were going through rotations late last week.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was on my computer or if it was just on his. I apologize.
So, you know, we're not in the high 20s, we're right at that 25 or maybe just a slight bit below that. So that's the only position, I just checked weekend, that's the only position that's been taken down. The guidance and the title is still there. We have some ideas later on in the agenda, hoping to address some of those things as well.
Why did they take the position down, just out of curiosity?
Which one, the math
Like
one?
the sixth grade teacher.
Well,
that's
because
themselves.
we got to the point where we had 0 applicants all entire summer and spring long, like we have had it open for a long, long time. We've had 0 applications, so we went with, we have to get our schedules, we have to get our teachers organized. So we kind of had a drop dead date where we had to say, okay, we don't find anyone by this date, then we have to go into the office, we have to let Amy know that there's 2 sections for 6th grade and we have to move forward with that, otherwise we're delaying all that back to school process. So it was at our administrative meeting maybe last week that we said that was the last day, if we didn't have applications, we had to move on. Again, like I said, we can keep title and guidance open because they don't affect schedules.
Do you have a number that if the class reaches a certain size, you'll try to get another teacher in there?
Yeah, well, we try to keep everything, like, when we look at our open enrollment and we look at sections, we use the number 28 as being the ceiling. But we know 28 is a lot of kids. We're not at 28, I know that. So we tried to find a teacher there, and we really did have that open for a very long time. But I feel good that we, were able to solidify a lot of positions that were open a couple of weeks ago, and we feel really good about having those teachers in place. So. Should we go to my report?
Yeah. Good, thank you.
So construction, you can read that. The maintenance, I think that would be worth talking about. So, we talked last month on the agenda about a software package, and then I said that, you would kind of talk about what's the best thing for Ladysmith. There's not a lot of schools that use a software package, that it's robust to get it going, it takes manpower to oversee it. So my conversations with Cross Anderson are kind of going in a direction of more of beefing up our contract with Barton Gale, because we already do have a maintenance contract with Barton Gale. We pay them about $20,000 a year to oversee some of those mechanical operations, et cetera. So the plan, what we'd like to go in the direction of is beefing up that contract with Barton Gale and adding in some things that maybe would take a little bit more, it would build a more systematic approach to some of the HVAC system. And then we would look at including Cross Anderson in more of a kind of a oversight for our long-range plan. They would come in and potentially do, and they have a lot more to tell you about this, but they would come in and they would do an overhaul of our facility assessment. Like, where are we at now, since we did all of this referendum work? Where are we currently at? And then they would, probably twice a year, do consultation and talk about that plan and what needs to happen, and really overseeing that deferred maintenance at another level.
What's the cost of that?
Their cost.
If you wanna wait until we get to the main subject.
Yeah, this is on.
Portion we can talk about that.
Or just different.
Yeah, this is different. Yeah, you're gonna really have, but I'm glad you're asking this because I wanted to settle in before next month, because next month we're gonna bring in Cross Anderson, Tim, the one that does the facility assessment. And we're also going to bring in Barton Gale, the head person from Barton Gale. We're gonna talk about that contract. We're gonna talk about the oversight from KA. The KA facility overhaul and kind of like a quarterly or biannually oversight would be around, I believe it's around $8,000. And that will be in board docs next month. And then Bartondale, that number will probably rise a little bit. If we're currently paying around 20 grand, I would expect that to go up a little bit if we're going to have them do a little bit more of that systematic routine maintenance on HVAC. So we'll bring both of those to the table next month. But what I'm not bringing to the table is a software package. So I do want to talk about that. You know, we're kind of going in this direction. Hopefully that will look like the right thing to do for the board.
So does it, the K stuff, does that allow the teachers and staff to be able to put work orders in, monitor work orders?
It
Show
does.
metrics
There is a component where we take our Google, because we're kind of using Google Form, which does work really well for us, but I guess it embeds it into that whole supercharged spreadsheet that you saw with our long range maintenance plan. So it is kind of like all in one spot.
You said it's 8,000
Yes.
a year, or?
No, that's not a year. That would be for the overhaul, and then I don't know what the annual cost would be. I don't have that right in front of me, but
We can wait till we get to the software part.
Yep.
But I do want to let you know that I went ahead and I met with Brightly, and I got quotes, and I have real numbers, and they're willing to join, and it's a whole hell of a lot less than
a whole hell of a lot less than what,
$8 grand.
yeah, the only thing is.
And also, last time, we heard that there wasn't anybody in the area using it. Boomer's been using it since 2019, they just signed another 3-year contract, they were using it. Is that you, Cameron? Can't remember.
I don't remember.
But there's
There were like
actually
3 or 4.
a fair number of schools in the area that are using it, and, I mean, to start on it,
Okay, well, it's not on the agenda, so we do need to talk about it right now.
no, it's on the agenda.
Oh, it is, okay. That's
Software's
right.
on the agenda.
That's right, there is a spot there. Okay, so I guess I didn't have to go into detail, but we can cut that conversation a little bit shorter when we get there.
Yep.
The rest of this, it was just, you know, we did have to work off site for about a week last week. One other thing that I want everybody to know is we are, as part of the referendum, rekeying and really having a systematic keying process at the middle school, high school. And so that is all part of the referendum as well. Some things will be fobbed, new fob doors for security.
What do you mean? Okay.
Yeah, for safety and
Okay.
security, some things will be fobbed, but we will have a streamlined system for how we hand out keys and who gets those keys, et cetera. So that's all being worked on right now as well. So, and then the truancy meeting, you kind of already heard a lot about that, but it was a good meeting. I feel like it was very productive. We will be meeting quarterly now with all of those stakeholders. Our next meeting is in November, same place, it's after school. But yeah, just having all those stakeholders in one place, I think it was really good. The 3 school districts, human resources, law enforcement, board representation. The one thing that we really do need is a little bit of parent representation.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. I mean, it was a good meeting, I'm glad I went, but, there's so many underlying issues to that whole issue.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a tough nut to crack, right? But it was a good start.
Yeah, it was definitely. Cybersecurity is a hot topic, back to school, especially this year. So I attended a webinar, Denise and Lana also.
Can I interrupt you for just a second? You should go to the next one, truancy meeting, I think, yeah.
Fancy to the truancy.
Luke should go.
Like,
Huh?
No, Luke.
Luke should go,
Luke, I'd like
not you, yeah.
Oh,
That's what I'm the one with hearing issues. I was like, what? You can
well, it looks like you're pointing right at.
I was pointing, it looks like that, but it's that.
Well,
It's
then
like
tell me to duck.
duck. If you can,
because it's such an overarching community problem. And it's not an issue, it's a big ass problem. So anyway, man, I'll send you the date. If you have a chance, it would be good for you to be there. Laura can invite you, she's in charge of that. But one of the things that struck me about that whole thing was, and I didn't know the guy, the retired judge that was sitting at the end of the table. And his whole point was that he could guarantee that any child that had a truancy issue was going to show up in his court. Almost 100%. So anything that we can do to make that go away is valuable time spent. So anyway, I just throwing that out.
Didn't you elaborate though, like, and say the reason why that again almost 100% is because otherwise they would have the law coming to them, or, you know, what, there was
Yeah,
consequences
what,
if they
what
didn't
they
show
have
up?
to show up.
You know what I mean?
Well, he didn't elaborate, but he was from here, but had spent time in other places. And so he said that, and then the guy from social services said his biggest problem when he talked to school systems was that the kid would get in front of him, the parents would get in front of him, and they'd show him what the policy was, and we weren't following our policy. So we have a policy of 5, but one of the school systems said that the threshold for excused absences was 10, but they were using 20. It's like, okay, but what are we doing here? But he might have, but I don't remember. But his issue was just that do whatever you can, be consistent in the county, and try and get these kids to school. And we bounced all over the place between using Terry Carter, the municipal judge, and writing tickets. And I had talked to Terry on a sidebar, and there were some things he said that, you know, he was reluctant to do because it put a strain on the family's resources, blah, blah, blah. You know, if you're writing a ticket for $500, they have to $500. And most of the policies between the districts were the same. The wording was the same, but how they administered it was really, really different. And they did have a legitimate issue in that if the school starts at 8:30 and you show up at 8:35, you're drunk. What do you do about that? You know, do you look the other way? Is there a kid that's constantly late because parents, you know, they sleep in, maybe they work third shift, they're tired, they can't get up on time. So it's just so complicated. Really. And Russ County is not a county that is high on education or on skill level, completed stuff. But anyway, it's just, I don't know, it was just very interesting to hear all the different ideas. But he didn't elaborate on that. It was just sort of this overarching statement that if there's a kid that's chronically truant, 9 times out of 10 he's going to show up in the court system.
Some
Oh,
other charge.
in the court.
Yeah.
I thought you meant.
Okay, I thought you meant that he would.
No, he'll show up
Oh,
as an offender.
correct, okay, gotcha.
That was the point.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a big problem, but I'm sure we're not alone, unfortunately. And COVID made it worse. Well, COVID made everything worse. Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay, so, yeah, well, I was just saying about cybersecurity, that is definitely a hot topic in schools right now. But I know that, like I said, we attended a webinar, Jim Scherzer is very much on top of education, multi-factor authentication for our devices. So we're doing what we can to educate and prepare and prevent any kind of security issues. Preparing for the return of staff, right there. The alternative program is the other thing that is on the agenda tonight. And just want you to know that this would be an alternative program to LHS, grades 9 through 12. We would have it half days. It would be located in the basement of the library. And we are targeting students that are just really not being successful in our traditional full-day school experience. And so we would like to have an alternative option for those kids. And
Tried that once, right?
We had it before.
Yeah, the old.
It was at the old Tony School.
Wasn't good.
I don't know. I mean, I remember because John McMahon was out there.
It was funding.
It
It was funding.
was it funding?
It
Yeah.
was kind of like, charter school at the time, that one was, and we had it again here at the middle school.
what's the name of the first one?
The times I was out there,
I think it was that-
just looking at it, it was
Well,
pretty effective.
It was a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking to get approval for
Don did it for a while, didn't he? Don
So,
did.
yeah.
I thought he did when I was here for a little bit, and Ricky did it.
Preparing for staff to return, I have a question. On the Friday note you sent us with the, or not Friday note, but the agenda with, I've gotten a lot of texts and phone calls from teachers that are high anxiety and stress right now, that they're only getting one full day to work in their rooms when it took them over 2 days with students to move everything out. How are they supposed to do it all in one day?
Yeah, they're going to get more than one full day of work in their room. They should have 2 full days.
That's
And
not,
we're gonna give them as much time as we possibly can give them, because we know the stress, like PD will be on the back burner, and moving into classrooms and getting prepared for the students will be the #1 goal.
you might want to send them all an email, but at least the middle school and high school, and tell them that, just because they're like, they're.
They're freaking out.
Yeah, it's pretty high,
Yeah,
pretty high.
What days are they, what's the first day they're supposed to do?
they are, our in-service is on, our district in-service is on the 28th. And then that whole week is, after we get done with in-service, we have a teacher meeting that day. That day kind of gets chewed up a little bit with communication and training and things like that.
And you have to have that.
And we have to have that. And then after that, the rest of that week is, time for them to prepare and move into their rooms and things like that. There probably will be a little bit of like another teachers meeting where we kind of grab them all together in the middle school, high school, and go through a few more things, maybe one day during that time. But the rest of the time will be prepare for those kids, because we know that they have to unbox all of their materials. There's a lot to do when they come in the doors, and they can't really come in the doors and start working until district in-service on the 28th.
So they can't come on the 25th.
Well, it says on there that we're trying to have that as a flex day, but there will be, like, elementary can come on the 25th. That's not gonna be a problem. We're not sure we're going to be able to have a robust staff at middle school, high school on the 25th. In fact, I would not plan on that. I plan on getting some more communication out to everybody after this board meeting, with a little bit more of an update on where we're at. So,
And then what about the parking lots? I've heard no parking until the kids come, but
actually, no parking until the 29th. On the 29th, we can start parking in the parking lot.
because otherwise you couldn't have an open house.
Yeah,
And you do know open house, you're gonna have more than just students, the public's gonna come look.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I hope they do.
So here's the other thing that really is, my administrators don't even know this yet, because I was in a meeting with Gage right before the board meeting. So you guys are the first to know this, and this will all get communicated out properly. But the decision to move open house later into September has already kind of, between Gage and I, we've made that decision. Like, I don't want teachers to be worried about hosting public and parents on, they really just need to be preparing for the first day of school. So we will have an open house at the elementary school, and that is, we get a lot of engagement at the elementary school. We will not change that. That'll be their day. But at the middle high school, we're going to pick a day in September, like after school, and we'll have it open to the parents and the public and all of the above. So that's another thing that the staff will find out about in my communication tomorrow. Because like I said, I didn't even tell Kirk and Troy that yet, because it was right before this board meeting that I was going through the calendar with Gage, and I'm like, I don't want that to be a disappointment. I want that to be a celebration. When the community walks in those doors, I want teachers to be like ready to show off their space and be excited about it, rather than it to be a complete stressed, high anxiety kind of situation. So it's easy to do at the middle high school to push it into September.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The teachers will appreciate that.
Yeah.
So do the teachers need help moving like furniture into the room?
No, because the furniture is all new. So all of that was moved out, and the new furniture will be set up and assembled and in their room for them. But it's all of their boxes and their books and their personal belongings, all of that is in the cafeteria. So those things take time to go through. And plus their orders, they're the new things that they ordered, there's some new curriculum that came in, needs to be unboxed, they need to have time to look through that. So there'll be plenty to do.
Being an IT guy, Jim, you're gonna have plenty of time to get all those PCs and network cables, all that stuff that you.
Well, to be really honest, it'll be extremely close.
Yeah.
There is still a lot of work on the infrastructure itself as far as data to go. We use all interactive TVs, access points, they all have to be hung, phones have to be reconfigured with new room numbers. There is, a tremendous amount to do. I've always pulled it off at any other school.
Yeah, I know, but how many,
It's long days. I think by the end of today, I'll already have 35 hours in this week and still.
Yeah, that concerns, are you?
Comp time.
Salary.
Comp time.
It's just the way it goes in those situations. This is just what it is.
Well, that's appreciated.
Good, thank you. Wait till it's done and then we'll see. Yeah, like Friday will be actually a big day. Power will be going down Friday. I will probably bring in a generator and I will pull the servers, which all have to be cleaned out. They took in a lot of construction dust and stuff like that. So it'll be a clean day on that, and then bring them back up, make sure they're running, and re-rack everything, and get everything ready to go for them to go. I mean, they're basically on schedule, but it's just still a lot to do.
Done? Are you done?
I am done,
Finished? You're done?
period.
All right, then we're ready for the construction update.
All right, busy month. We've got, Kirk, I know you have some concerns about the football field.
The lights turned on today, so I'm one step to being less stressed.
Yeah, I know that they don't look like they face the field, but they have a lot of coverage.
As soon as we're done, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, okay. And then bleachers will be done by tomorrow night, what I was told. They might be double checking a few screws Friday morning, but should be out of there no later than noon on Friday. So, we have the parking lot fully paved. Striping should happen next week. And then, as Laura mentioned, we can start parking on that the week of the 28th. We've completed some restrooms, the cafeteria restrooms, connecting the middle school area to the cafeteria. Those are complete, less one partition that we have coming in the men's. We have the cabinetry installed in the science rooms, the new, all new cabinetry, countertops, and plumbing is getting put in those right now, sinks and faucets. All the new additions, we're chipping away at those. The focus right now is the renovated areas, so we can turn over the kids, but starting to see our vertical area, construction areas are looking really good. We got the roof put on the gym this week. We got sheathing going on the exterior walls of the new media center here soon, so those are starting to come together as well. The biggest push though is gonna be completing those indoor areas, getting those all completed on the inside, the rooms ready, and then cleaning them up and moving our guys out of there. Other than that, that's the focus for the rest of this month, and then we'll just continue to work on different phased areas inside the existing building, and then continue to progress on the additions through September.
So is there anything that you said would be done that will not be done?
At this point, no.
And are they gonna be in the building when everybody's in the building? It's gonna be work going on?
Very
Just like
minimal.
last year,
Very minimal.
minimal compared to last year.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Because the classrooms themselves will be done, you're just probably in the gym area or.
Yep, and then there's like the restrooms in the main hallway there. We'll redo those during the school year, with notice that those will be out of service for X amount of days. So minimal areas that will give well ahead of notice before we shut them down and renovate those areas.
Our furniture is coming in on Monday, and that's kind of a full week process.
The what?
Our furniture, student furniture,
Oh,
teacher furniture. So Monday through Friday, that'll be happening next week too. So,
Busy time.
yeah. Very busy.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
The carpet is just really attractive, so, and so is the tile. We're really happy with the flooring. There's an example of the tile.
Until you see a room and the room size, you'll really appreciate it once you see that.
When what, Jim?
When you see the actual room size, these new rooms.
Yeah, it was really, conducive to learning before.
Yeah, you'll have real walls and appropriate size.
Yeah.
No bulletin board walls anymore?
No, they were easy to take down.
Well done.
Got my
Should let the
education
kids
in
demo
those
that.
walls.
No paper thin walls anymore.
Bill, have you guys toured any of it, or have you looked at it?
I was out there. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I was impressed with how fast they moved on that parking lot. I mean, they were just banging it. It was just amazing. And the inside looks cool. I didn't see all of it. I just saw that, sort of that main hallway and some of the entry areas, but yeah, I think, there's something to be said for a place that looks nice that you can be proud of. Rather than, I can hear the kid next to me screaming at the teacher.
The kids are excited about it too, with
I
our
think they are,
athletes,
yeah.
the athletes that are in the building,
Yeah.
like the volleyball players, the football players
Yeah.
that have been in and out of the office and that are like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it looks cool.
Yeah.
They're excited about it.
Yeah, it's a
My
good
boys are really excited about where they get to play now
Yeah.
and what you're looking at. It's neat.
Now, if they're excited about that and they would go home and clean their room, that'd be great.
We're not gonna touch on that one.
It's nice too to have the secure entry. That's all in now. Those double doors are
Yeah.
in, so we'll have that to start the school year. That'll be really great. So, yeah, I mean, we're still gonna have people on the roof and HVAC still is working away, you know, there's still a lot to do, but the classroom spaces will be ready for learning. So that's great.
Then once the kids do return to school, we do have plans, with our landscaper to clean up that south side area. That's kind of a mess right now, just from all the traffic. Touch up there, because we know that's still from the athletic fields to the school, that's still a kids crossing area there, so we'll wanna make it nice again and then the parking over there.
Do we have all three of our scoreboards up now? Just,
No, just football is
Just the
up right
football
now. I haven't seen them back since they were working on the
okay,
football
because
one.
that was last week Friday.
But the softball board is different than when Greg and I went out there and we emailed you about it. They must have did something with it, so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no, they haven't been back this week.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Yep.
Okay, maintenance software update.
Bye, Gage.
See ya.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Maintenance software update.
All right, so we kind of talked about this a little bit. I don't have another attachment in there or anything, but, yeah, I kind of got ahead of myself because I was doing it in my admin report. So you had some things to say about the software.
So we met with Brightly, who is the school dude people that, I forget who had recommended that. Yeah. Was it KA that recommended that?
Yeah, KA did and also, CC10.
Just to give you an idea, like a one-year contract is $4,759, and that's $1,855 of that is the Asset Essentials implementation, they call it, where they actually help us get it up and running and train, make it so that we're successful with it. The cost of the program was $2,904 per year,
Say that again?
$2,904.
Maintenance cost. Was that maintenance cost?
No, that was the cost.
That's the cost of basically lease the.
So after the first year,
Oh,
of
true.
training, the next year it would only be 2,000 something. is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And I can get you these quotes, and actually I'll be meeting with them again tomorrow at 2:30, and I think it's 2 or 2:30, I can't remember, but I would be happy to invite you to that if you would like to.
Yeah, the one other cost too, that we talked about was the hardware or whatever kind of needs to all run. Or does it all run in the
Oh,
cloud?
no, that's
It's all in the cloud,
different.
right?
That's different, that's a whole other package. That's the IoT stuff where they could put, they do offer, we could put different sensors on compressors of the fridge units and stuff like that, and start to build a baseline and determine, is it getting to a point of failure, is it at a point of failure?
No, but I'm actually talking to where the software actually runs, so it's just.
Oh, yeah, it's a cloud software.
Yeah, that's right.
You can run it on your phone, iPad, computer, anything with a screen and a network.
So we don't need any additional servers or.
Correct.
Gym or anything.
And the beauty of it is, say Brian's over at the middle high school, and a teacher over here puts a work order in, he can get that right on his phone. He can prioritize them, he can move it around, put timestamps to it, show them completed, put priorities to it, and all that stuff. Actually, as we went through the call with them, I was totally expecting this to be a $20,000 program.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I expected.
And you said it was Bloomer and,
Bloomer's using it,
Hayward,
Hayward's using it.
I don't remember who else. There's
I
one.
thought it was Cameron.
Could have
I thought it was Cameron.
Doesn't sound very big.
What's the
and
downside
basically
to
it's
it?
run by.
What's the downside to it?
Basically it's run by the buildings and grounds director.
Yeah. I mean, kind of the way that it's set up, I don't know why my email just restarted, but it's basically set up where a teacher walks into their classroom, sees that shelf broke. They can take a picture of it, put in a work order, Brian can see it, the principals can see it, and everybody can see it, it's out there for everybody. There was a lot more to it. And,
So tomorrow at 2:30?
my Gmail is doing this now.
So much.
Yeah, I was having a little problem with the phone over here.
You lost the server.
I lost it, so I can send it to you tomorrow.
It's just a virtual meeting, I hope.
Yeah, it's just a virtual meeting. I mean, the guy's in South Carolina, but actually the salesman was a fifth grade teacher for 5 years. So he's got background on what, what, as a teacher, what they would want for, a type of software that can enter work orders and things like that.
Dustin, if they estimate something in the last 5 years, and let's say the last 2 or 3, do they cover it then?
No, it's not a warranty program. I mean, a lot of, that's a different deal, like the IoT stuff, that's where they're actually putting vibration sensors on and temperature monitors and things like that, and build a baseline so they can start to see if the device wavers from that baseline, they can start to predict failure or, if the cooler's really loud, we should probably go look at it. Versus Brian walking through the building and going, oh, that thing's weird, I should listen to that, I should go look at that quick. That's next level stuff, we're not there yet. We're nowhere near, I mean,
We're not anywhere near that.
I'm not even there with my company, the company that I work for right now. We're close, but we're not there yet.
But the basic package is, kind of like a buffer, to make sure things get done, because
Yeah,
more than one person can order.
Yep. And it's, it gives, instead of Brian having to answer his phone or wait for a phone call or run around the building looking for stuff, people, they put these work orders in and he has direct access to them. He can assign them, he can reassign them, a lot that he can do with it.
Does that help with like suggesting when things get done then?
Yes.
So, when.
So we can load in all the info, I mean, right down to that TV. If you can find the information for that TV, load that in. And if there's a scheduled PM that's in the documentation for that, it'll automatically schedule it. Brian can sit down in January and lay out the preventative maintenance schedule for everything in the building. And it'll automatically schedule that stuff. Part of the thing with Bartendale, Bartendale's got their program, it's great, that's what we need to do. This software just helps organize that and make sure that Bartendale gets called to come and do the PMs. That's the type of stuff that this is, the maintenance and management software does.
So if the teacher puts in, like you said, the broken shelf or whatever, and, we have an idea of how long it's supposed to take, within the next 30 days, it should be fixed, right? If it goes past that date, would it alert them to let them know that there's a work order that hasn't been resolved?
Oh, yeah. If I remember right, there was different statuses where, if Brian's waiting for a part, he can set the status waiting for a part, so the teacher doesn't have to call Brian and say, Brian, when are you gonna fix my shelf? They can look at the work order and see, well, as soon as that widget gets here, it can be taken care of. And there's other levels to it. There's other levels where it can do inventory management, which would be pretty cool as well. But this is just the basic get started with it. And I think it's Kyle was the name. I can tell you for sure once I get my dang email open up. But he can give you a really good tour of it. The way that I viewed it was, we spend more than that to have somebody manage our Facebook page, which I'm all in favor for. I mean, to me, it's worth a try. But
That was Kyle White.
probably, yeah. Super cool program. They seem like, they're fully invested with the implementation plans, because, if it's not successful, they're not gonna get another term out of it. Like I said, Bloomer, they've had it since 2019, and they just renewed another 3-year contract.
Is it a lot of upfront, like putting a lot
It's a lot of,
Yeah, but that's what that, asset essentials portion was. They help with a lot of that. And like Kyle was saying, right now, while we're in a referendum, we have all that stuff fresh to us, while we're putting in a new HVAC system, and we've got new widgets all over the building. It's all fresh, so we can start baselining now. And the asset essentials portion kind of helps you plan for, we put 10 new TVs in this year. When do we need to replace them? You know, the average lifespan of this TV with this model was 6 years. So it starts tracking that instead of 6 years from now, you walk in, all 10 TVs are dead. You've got a little bit of notice that, hey, you probably could start buying 1 or 2 TVs here.
So when you have the needs map, can you find out exactly like what it means to, how many man hours are we taking? Do we have to have a computer person to do it, or is it gonna be maintenance person that doesn't work on a computer?
Yep. It's gonna take a lot of work from more than just Brian.
Brian can't do it.
Even if Brian was this super tech savvy guy, he's not gonna be able to do it all, because he's not the one living in the classroom, he's not the one walking the hallways. I would envision the principals being very tied to this. I mean, it's your school.
Very what?
Very tied to putting it together and getting it up and running.
So inputting data.
Not so much inputting data, but selecting the data. You know what I mean?
And I, so,
If you know your building, you know
just
that.
thinking about the full picture, we probably have to hire somebody to come in and get us going.
Wait till tomorrow when you talk to Kyle, because the way that I understood it, it was not gonna be that intrusive as it used to be. You know, 20 years ago, it was intrusive, but a lot of these things bolt on.
Well, don't they have, I mean, they have, every school has the same equipment, basically. And so they probably have like a format, okay, we don't have this, take this off, okay?
Yeah.
You have this, there's 3 of these. Like, added to it, right?
Yeah.
Formatted
Well,
program.
What I would suggest would be to have you call the Bloomer superintendent or maintenance or whatever. They're a similar size school. Find out how they use it, how difficult was it to implement.
how many maintenance people do they have?
They only have the one. What, the guy Kyle said.
So they got a Brian and that's it.
I think that's all they have is a Brian.
Yeah, and unfortunately, their superintendent is an interim this year.
Yeah.
So there's, they lost their superintendent.
I believe his name is Brian as well.
Yeah, it
I
is.
met him at Max's at one.
He's a
Max
great
is on the
guy,
way.
but he's now at Altoona, and now they have an interim. So might be better for me to reach out, because this interim is probably not going to have a whole lot to say about it. Probably would be better to reach out to Hayward or Cameron.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I spent 2.5 hours talking to Brian at Max's on the Lake. He's been involved in the Bloomer district for, I think, 5 years.
Oh, so just contact him even though he's not at Boomer.
Yeah, that's what I would talk to.
It's a lot of work up front.
Well, I don't know how much work it is up front.
Depends on how much we implement, right?
Yeah,
Well, you're not gonna,
they do offer a, similar to what Kay had, where they come in and they'll do an audit and input everything for you, but I can't remember what the cost. He didn't even quote me on that.
no, I didn't.
Well,
It's worth looking into though.
We'll ask about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying, you gotta do it, I'm just saying that I'm an advocate for doing some further research into it, because I think that it could provide some benefit.
I think we've been we haven't planned
Yeah.
why the schools in condition
For,
for any maintenance.
Yeah,
it just,
And they put fires out all the time, and they do the preventative.
well, and that's, in reality, the reason you do this type of work is so you're not putting out fires all the time. But if you don't have the horses to input, so it's very heavily data driven up front, so you gotta input everything, you gotta put those lights in, you gotta put the doors in, you gotta put all the locks in. You gotta put all that stuff in there and sort of estimate the next time you're going to PM it.
But it also helps with budgeting, you know?
It
You know, we're gonna
can,
have to replace
it-
these in 4 years.
It can help with, when they did the ROI, their thrust was, labor savings. So if you look at that, it helped to pay it back, but, and I've done this a couple of times in factories that I was running, but I always had enough people to do it. If you don't have the horses to do it, it's a waste of money. And I think it's a great idea. I just have concerns about maintaining the system on the people side of it. But once you get it set up, it's really sweet. Saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, I think he's deserving of some.
Oh, I do too, no, I'm not saying that, I
Looking
just,
into it and
when I
go from there.
when I project in the future, it's like, but it's, yeah, we should look into it and we should go from there. Can't hurt. Knowledge is power.
Any further discussion on the maintenance effort? All right. All right. Move to enter into executive session as stated in board docs.
All in favor? Roll call. It's a roll call.
Nancy?
Yeah.
Lori? Dustin?
Yep.
Mike?
Yep.
Jeff?
We are
Jeff, yes.
in executive session.
discussion? All right, move to approve the consent agenda.
Any comments? Everyone? Bueller? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Nancy, okay.
Okay. So, I'm gonna make one motion to approve the employment, and then another motion to approve the resignation. All right. Move to improve. So I'll get another motion to approve. Okay. Move to approve Alexandria Salceda, LMHS instrumental music teacher, band director. Hannah Nelson, 5th grade teacher. Tammy Moore, 12-month LES secretary. Dana Paul, LES 4K paraprofessional. Jay Gerber, alternative education student success coordinator. Hunter Karaszewski, math paraprofessional. Brendan Bauer, LES physical education teacher.
Second.
Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to approve the resignation of Jake Nelson, like football coach, Kim Prince, MS girls basketball coach, the retirement of Lisa Beck, LES special education para.
Give a second.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move to approve the mission and vision statement. Oh,
You went
sorry, did
too
I miss
far.
one? I didn't. Sorry. Boy, I really did.
You went way too far.
I went all the way down to the,
You're ready to pick it up.
oops,
It's not-
well, I am, but.
It's not raining.
Move to approve alternate HS education program.
Give a second.
What are the people of those?
Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to talk about this one. So, yeah, this would be for 8 to 10 students. We will house this program at the city library. It'll be for the mornings. We're looking at like 8:05 to 11:05. There's an attachment in there with a lot of good information too. We're gonna use an online curriculum called Play-Doh.
Play-Doh?
Play-Doh is just it's a
Like the philosopher,
Yeah.
not the thing you used to eat when you were a kid like that.
Not the cool stuff you.
No.
We are going
Smells
to
good.
try to really, select kids that are not being very successful in a building, and we hope to give them a place that they can be very successful. Our whole goal in that program is to get kids with a high school diploma so that they have choices for their post-secondary track. We will also do online, like virtual services for special ed in that program, so we will accept kids with IEPs in there. And the other part of that job that's really important is a student success coordinator. That's kind of separate from what Jay Gerber is, the person that we're approving for this. But it's separate from what he's doing in the morning. In the morning, he's going to work with some at-risk students off campus. But when he comes back to the building for the afternoon, he is a success coordinator for all students. So he can be kind of the right-hand person to the high school guidance and middle school guidance program. We put a couple of ideas down there. He has a background robust background in the area of CTE and business ed. And so he could be our state test coordinator. He could help out or be in charge of the college and career fair. And then any kind of career exploration, we need to do career exploration from kindergarten on up. And so that could be a real focus for him at the middle school level, especially.
Will they be in the building or in the high school at all?
And it's not 10 to 12, it's 8 to 10. And They will potentially be in the other building, so they don't have to be. If the half day is really the sweet spot for them and that's where they have success, then they can be done in a half day. But, if they want to take electives, or any kind of the CTE programming that we have to offer at the high school, and they're showing that they can handle that longer school day and that full engagement with so many more peers, then we will definitely provide that for them. So it'll be on an individual basis and it kind of depends on their track and their interests, et cetera.
Are we paying rent on the library then?
No, we are not. Yeah, that's kind of a nice gift, yeah.
And how do they get to and fro?
So they'll get there on a regular bus system, so that's not a problem. But because we would have them ride their bus at the end of the day, but because they're dismissing midday, we don't have a bus run at that time. So we'll use the West County Transit, people to help us with that.
And they'll bring it back to there?
Yeah.
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 No, I'm glad it's back.
Thank you. Very good idea. And
Anything else? Okay.
you can ask for a vote if you want me.
Oh, we didn't do that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to approve the LES Parent Student Handbook for the 23-24 school year.
Do you have a second? Second. Conversation? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to approve the first readings for policy 9700.01 naming rights policy.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Okay, so Jeff requested that we maybe look into this, which I think is a great idea. We are doing a lot of promotion at the football field and in the gymnasium and trying to solicit some donations for those areas to help us with building a new track. And so we got a nice big donation, like we all know, from Superior Choice. And so as those donations are kind of coming in, we really do need a policy to kind of keep it all in line and in check. So this is just the first read. I selected in there what I thought would be what we would want to select in our policy. So those are all checked in green. And so if you could look that over, if you have an opinion on things that I didn't check that you feel like it should be. The one area that I didn't check was that everything had to be approved by the board, because I didn't think that you guys would want to have to approve every naming right or every, I feel like we can handle that at the administrative level. So those are the only two boxes that I didn't check in that area. It was just the final decision to be at the board level. Not that we wouldn't bring things to the board, especially if it was something that we wanted, you know, a little bit more of a discussion around, or if we had any kind of questions or concerns or whatever, but the general approval would probably just go through the administrative office. Unless you feel differently, I'm fine with that. Just trying to save everybody a little bit of time. So if you could look that over, if that meets our needs, then we would do a second reading. The way it appears now, we would do a second reading next month, and then we would have a policy in place.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to approve the mission and vision statement.
Second.
Discussion?
Okay, so this looks like, a simple thing to approve, but I want you to know that this was like a 1.5-year process to get these words on paper. And, before we start marketing this, it is all over our website, but before we start plastering posters up and putting a lot of things, around our school in our, conference rooms and, in our lobby, et cetera, I really want the board to get a final stamp of approval on those words. Again, we had a lot of input from teachers. We did a couple of different surveys. We had a half-day PD where teachers worked on the mission and vision and collaboratively talked about what it meant for success at Ladysmith. So we came down to our mission is to empower all students to achieve their best. And our vision is to ensure all students have the knowledge and skills for living, learning, and working successfully. So we think those words really sum it up. Your mission and vision used to be like a paragraph. So this is just so much more concise. But I want final board recognition and approval for us to go further with these words.
I feel like didn't we approve something like this last year?
I don't remember us doing it.
I feel like we did.
Maybe it was the paragraph version.
No, I think it was this one, because I do remember saying, well, let's achieve
We
their.
talked about the mission and vision, I brought it to the board several times. And we talked about like the engagement that we were doing at the staff level to get to these words. So you probably have seen them, but I don't know if we ever had it like on the agenda for approval.
Okay.
So,
Well, and it shouldn't be a big law.
right.
It's good.
Short and sweet.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to approve the safe return to school plan.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So very simple, you've seen this every year since COVID. And this is a requirement to receive, ESSER dollars. We have to ensure our community that we have a safe learning space for all kids. So this is the same PowerPoint, but I have edited it and made it more realistic for now because we don't have, all of the COVID restrictions and, it's a different time now than it was 2 years ago. So basically I have it pared down to what I think everybody would get on board with. We're gonna have a healthy environment. We're gonna encourage kids to wash their hands, staff to wash their hands, et cetera. In the cafeteria, we're gonna be even a little bit more careful by following all of the safety protocols, and having the sneeze guards and your hand sanitizer available. Our goal always is for success for all students, so how are we gonna do that? We're gonna teach the Google learning environment, so this will help out with, absenteeism, engagement, truancy, like they need to know that even when they're not in school, there is a way to, like if you're homesick, you can go to your Google Classroom and you know what's going on in that class. So just making sure that we are utilizing our Google Classroom for all kids. And having those environments and platforms taught and ready. Next is all about PBIS, making sure that we teach kids, hygiene, hand washing, coughing, sneezing, et cetera. And then the next one, the last one is just what do we do when staff or students are sick? And it's kind of going back to the way it's always been, which is if you're sick, you stay home. And you return when you are symptom-free for 24 hours.
So if the child is sick for 2 days, they can actually participate in class with Google?
No,
Or-
not live stream, but they can go on their Google platform and see what the teacher is handing out, et cetera. Yeah, it's not a live stream, it's just more of like a platform that they can go and say, oh, they did this story and this is the assignment. And they also can see maybe if the teacher uploads all of their slides for the day, they can review the slides. but no live teacher, no meet with the teacher.
So will they upload their slides? I thought you said if they upload.
Well, it depends on the class, right? Not every class teaches from slides.
Okay, all right.
So,
Anybody else? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to approve the 3-year 2023-2026 bus contracts with Royce Enterprise LLC and Gilbertson Transit Ladysmith LLC.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
really not much to discuss, they're just there, and it's time for us to refresh those contracts, and so I have been meeting with the bus contractors periodically throughout the summer to get these prepared for tonight.
Was there any like major changes to them from previous?
Yes, major changes. We are, all buses will have cameras on the bus now. All buses will have two-way radios on the bus, so we can talk to the driver and just for safety reasons. So those are two big changes.
And they were super cooperative, right, the bus owners? The cameras and everything, right?
Yep. Yep, we're gonna share half the cost with the cameras, and they have the other half. And same with the two-way radios, we're gonna have a shared cost. So we're putting some skin in the game too, and that made the negotiations better.
Anybody else? I hope having the cameras helps with accountability. You think it will?
Yes, big time.
It has?
And on the buses that have cameras, yes, it is very, very helpful because it settles the arguments really
Well,
fast.
yeah, you know who's.
Yeah,
And the cameras have theirs actually pick up volume too.
Oh, they do?
And can focus on like specific parts of the bus, like it's very, very sweet.
Yeah, you know who the bad
They're all
actors
that
are.
way. What's that?
You know who the bad actors are.
it's, yeah, like you said, it's not gonna necessarily stop the behavior, but it'll stop the he said, she said.
Yeah, but then, like we talked about last year, the accountability, and they
Yeah.
behave bad in the bus, they don't get to ride it anymore.
Mom and dad have to worry about it.
Which turns into truancy.
Then it goes.
It's a house of it.
Do any of them have it on the outside of the bus too? So if somebody passes on the red.
Schools do, but we do not. There's.
We did have an individual that you requested at one.
Well, they had it, there's a school that has it, and then I think the police department publicly shames people that get caught breaking the law on that. So they post like the license plates, if I can help looking for this person.
We just put GoPros on the bus drivers.
Yeah, there you go.
And then we're at home.
I'm just saying, we could have that guy that I think.
Yes,
Okay.
without volume.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And upcoming meeting dates, it's like September 20th is the next date, and then the next one is the annual meeting and regular board meeting. So Mike, you better brush up on all those gotta be run.
What'd you say?
He's happy.
You need to brush up on all those that are run. I don't wanna get there and look like we did the first time.
Wow, that's harsh.
His hair's growing if you're not careful.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, is the next meeting here?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question though. Would you all like to tour the new facility before the next, like, if our board meeting is at 5:30, we can meet over there at 4:30 and you can walk
Yeah,
through
that'd be great.
everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a 4:30 tour of the new spaces.
Can that come out in the reminder though?
Yes.
Yeah. When is the next one, you said?
20th.
September 20th.
9:20.
No, I know, it's September. Did you say October or were you?
No.
No, October 25th is the.
Yeah, 25th. I got that, okay.
The annual board.
Well, I think we should.
Yeah,
do
that's-
this.
Super special. then.
Yeah. I'll dress up and wear it.
Alright, go to review. Close to the-
All right, well, I got another
Any
one.
discussion?
Oh, no, yeah, board discussion. Any board discussion topics that people want.
And the payment of the bills, it's, mine plate was like almost $6,000. Is that per year or is it like for so many years for the license for mine plate?
That would be an annual.
as an annual. It just stuck out to me, I was just kind of curious if it was a month or yearly or timely, the special ed department uses it as an intervention for the kids.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. Have a nice day.